Hey everyone, welcome to today's Program Yourself Thin podcast. Today we're talking about thinking of yourself as a thin and healthy person. In my opinion, this is really the core of becoming a thin, healthy person. And I think it's what a lot of people don't do. I think a lot of people think of themselves as an overweight person and then try and lose weight. And that's always going to be a battle, right? There's always going to be this subconscious incongruency if you think of yourself as an overweight person who's trying to lose weight, right? Because it's just set up as you're not that thing you want to be. So you always have to force yourself to do what you're not going to naturally do, right? And so it may sound like a weird way to look at it, right? Because we tend to think, well, okay, if I kind of force myself to do the right stuff, eventually I'll think of myself as a thin, healthy person. But this is not the case. And this is really reinforced by the statistic that up to 95% of people that lose weight on a diet gain it all back. And so it's not enough to just expect that you're going to be able to, lose the weight and then you start naturally thinking yourself as a thin, healthy person. It just doesn't work that way. And I wish it did. Now, the good news is if you start to focus right from the beginning on the mindset piece, right? So even before you make your first good food choice, if you start to think in your mind, what would it be like to think of myself as a thin, healthy person? What would it be to be a thin, healthy person? How would that feel? How would I live? How would I think? How would I behave? What would I do? And if you start putting your head into this space, I think that's one of the best things you can start to do to get yourself to where you want to go. Because again, so much of people's weight loss experience is you're kind of throwing kind of sand in the gears because again, in the back of your mind, you're almost working against yourself. So, well, I'm a sugar addict. I want to lose weight, but I love sugar. I want to lose weight, but I'm an overeater. I want to lose weight, but I have no self control. And these beliefs are going to bubble up into your behavior. And it's important that we recognize this. And simultaneously, while we work on the behavior, work on the beliefs. And when you do this kind of dual approach of simultaneously working on what we're thinking while working on what we're doing, this is the sweet spot where I've found people get the best results. And they really are two different things. You can't, again, I know I just said this, but you can't just expect because you're doing the right stuff that you'll start to think of yourself as that person. Because again, you all know this, you've all done it. You've all stuck to a plan at some point. You've all lost some significant amount of weight at some point. But ironically, what ends up happening a lot of times is the more weight people lose, the more they start to reinforce that they're an overeater, no self-control, an overweight person, whatever. And it just ends up going back to that. And so again, I think the sweet spot is to start off by, again, working on the behaviors, obviously, but simultaneously intentionally dedicating time to cultivating the ability to think of yourself as a thin, healthy person. Now let's talk about that because at first it feels weird, right? So once you kind of like get this and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to work on my mindset as I work on the behaviors. It feels weird, right? Because there's a good chance that most of your life you have been an overeater or a sweets addict or out of control with the eating. That's why you're in the problem in the first place, right? So you have all this evidence from the past that tells your brain, well, I'm an overeater, I'm a binge eater, I'm whatever. And so it's hard to be like, well, okay, well now I am now I'm a moderate eater. Now I, eat just the right amount. Now I make great food choices. It feels weird. There's an incongruency there. And technically we call it cognitive dissonance, right? It's weird when you try and hold this new idea yourself when you're basing it against all this evidence that you're not that way, that you're someone else. And so we need to understand that this process really begins by giving yourself a little bit of space to imagine yourself the way you want to be. Okay. So yes, maybe in the past you were one way. Maybe right now you still think of yourself that way, but we want to just give ourselves a little bit of space to say, what would it be like? How would I feel? How would I think? What would I be like? How would I live my life if I began to act as a thin, healthy person? So you need to give yourself a little bit of space because your brain's gonna say, you're not that person. It's going to jump right in and try and squash this, but you can't let that happen. You got to give yourself a little bit of space and start allowing your imagination to start filling in those blanks. Take a little bit of time and imagine yourself making good, healthy choices. Imagine yourself being relaxed, calm, centered, grounded, making good, healthy choices naturally and easily. Now, at first it's difficult because you don't have reference points for that. This is why, by the way, you really do need to dedicate time and energy to it, because you need to set aside some time, calm yourself down, relax, get yourself in a good place, and then allow your mind to create this idea of who you want to be. And it takes a little bit of time and space. You have no reference point for it. So there's nothing to access right now. And so it takes effort to create that. It's the difference between, creating a picture with a blank piece of paper is more work than, coloring something in where there's already a design for it. Okay. And so for a lot of people, when they're starting to create and think of themselves as a thin, healthy version, it's that blank piece of paper type of thing, right? It is more work. So you need to put yourself in the right space to do that work. But once you've done some of that, here's where things get really interesting. It only takes a couple of times. And when you start imagining yourself as the person you want to be, you start thinking, in the past, when have been times when I've made good decisions? Everyone's made some good decisions in their life. And if you can remember those, it allows your brain to reference those and bring them into the present and the future, to start thinking yourself as that version of you. Okay. So basically, very intentionally, you're using your mind in two key ways. First is you're allowing your imagination to imagine yourself as if you were the person you want to be. And the other piece is you're reflecting over your past and looking for those moments. Doesn't have to be years, doesn't have to be times when you accomplish something huge, just those moments where you made good decisions that you want to emulate and repeat. Okay. Because again, it's a very powerful process. And when you can see yourself doing it in the past, your brain says, I did that, I can do it again. Okay. But it takes again, you got to set aside a little bit of time to really do this, because your brain's not wired to think this way right now. And so you really want to encourage that way of thinking as you move forward. And the more you practice this, the easier it becomes. And when you combine both of these things, where you're changing your behaviors on the outside and you start changing your mindset on the inside, they start to work together. So that now every time you make a good choice, it's not about, with dieting, it's always about I have to string together a perfect week, a perfect month to get to my goal. With what I'm talking about here, each and every time you make a good decision. So you can make a great decision and you could reference that, say, oh, see, look at me. I just had an apple, after lunch or in the afternoon for a snack instead of cookies. Look at me. Great job. That wasn't that hard. It felt good. That's the thin, healthy me. That's who I want to be. That's the kind of decisions I want to make. And so I focus on that good decision and just reinforce it in my mind so I can remember it in the future. So now what I'm doing is I'm not just changing my behavior, I'm changing my behavior, and I'm also starting to shift my mindset around that behavior. I'm doing both at the same time. I'm doing the outer work to act different, and I'm doing the inner work to start thinking of myself in a different way. And if you start following this process, it's really transformative, because you mostly have never done this. Most dieters have never done this. Again, they're just trying to change the external stuff. And in the way they think of themselves inside is the same they've always thought about themselves. You've got to transform the way you think of yourself if you have any chance at all of living at your goal weight. If you're going to live as a thin, healthy person, you've got to learn how to think like a thin, healthy person. And it takes practice and it takes focus, and you got to work on that specific skill. Changing your behavior and changing how you think about yourself are two different things, right? Is what I'm trying to say. But if you do both of those things at the same time, you really accelerate your results. So I hope this helps you out. And if you want some support and some help starting to think of yourself as a thin, healthy person, click the link in my bio or go to programyourselfthin.com. Get the free hypnosis session I made for you. It's literally a kickstart session called The New Thin Me. So when we're talking about thinking of yourself as a thin, healthy person, that's literally what this session's made for. So go get it. It takes you 5 seconds to sign up for it and you'll have it. I also made a training for you. Go listen to that. And all these things will help you live at your goal weight. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them and we will get into it. Let's see. Samantha says, I would love to hear this, but it's 3:23 a.m. in Sydney, Australia, and I can't stay awake. Well, go get some sleep because sleeping's really important. Super important. So yes, when it's time to sleep, you got to sleep. That's the key there. Eileen says, and what? Why? Not sure what you're referring to, but again, anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm here to help you with any weight loss related questions at all. What's up, Chalenga? How's it going? I forgot I wasn't even here yesterday, was I? Yes, I missed yesterday, didn't I? I almost missed today. I've been helping my mom get a new car, and so that has That it takes a lot longer than you think. Oh my goodness. I think it's intentional. I think they like to wear you down. Methinks. And I think they make everything extra slow. So yeah, everything you think is going to take an hour takes 3-4 hours. And so there we are. But anyways, I'm glad I'm on today too. I got right in there, got right on, because I'm like, if I, take 5 seconds, it's gonna be too late and I won't do it. So I'm glad I'm on too. And that's great. Chalinga says the best advice ever works for me. Thank you so much. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, it probably is the best advice ever. I always think, you know what I mean? Like I'll be walking around during the day and I'm just like, why are you so obnoxious when someone says something, nice? But I just can't help it, because I'm not saying, I know there's other people out in the world that have great advice. I'm not saying I'm the only one. But I am saying with weight loss that majority of advice you're going to get in the weight loss world, that big old world, diets, influencers, fitness magazines, just all of it. Almost all of it's not enough, I'll say. I'm not gonna say it's bad, because I think it's a lot of helpful stuff. It's important to know what to eat, and all these types of strategies and nutritional, insights. They're all important. But at the end of the day, I think that the key thing to really get in the weight loss results you want is the ability to influence your mindset, to really have a holistic, comprehensive approach to dealing with your weight. And I think in our society, you never get any exposure to that. You know what I mean? Like there's never this idea that you're going to learn a full, complete, systematic approach to mastering your weight. It's almost always like hacks, or just like one tactic that you're going to use. I'm just not going to eat carbs. It's like you're not one tactic away from living at your goal weight. Again, the idea you're just going to stop eating carbs, that's the solution. I'm just going to count my calories. That's not enough of a solution. You need a comprehensive, holistic approach, in my opinion, to really get control of your weight for the long term. But I'm glad you enjoy the advice, because that's what I'm here for. I literally get here every day because this is a mission for me. This is very, very important stuff to me. Weight to me is life and death. And so I am here every day to help you all, see things differently. Because again, for me, literally, I think of weight as life and death. My dad died at 54 of a heart attack, so again, I want you to look good too, but the more important thing to me is how long you're alive, your quality of life while you're here. And it's so important to me that I get on here every day and for free to help you all out. So again, any questions you may have, please feel free to ask them. Ginger Spice says, good idea. Nice. Schlingo says, everything is good. Thank you. Good. Like it says, moderating and manage my eating is always a work in progress, but it's possible and doable. Yeah, absolutely. I think moderating and managing eating is forever going to be a work in progress, and I think that's the right attitude and the right idea. I think the diet industry sells you this fairy tale that you get to the finish line of your goal weight and then you just stay there. And again, dieting really, at the end of the day, you don't even want to lose weight. That's not really your main goal. Your main goal is not to lose weight. Your main goal is to live at your goal weight. And they're two different things, because you've all lost weight before and most people put the weight back on. So the losing weight is not the main goal you want to achieve. The main goal you want to achieve is to live at your goal weight and to keep the weight off and live at your goal weight for the rest of your life on your autopilot. And those two focuses, while they may sometimes to some people sound similar or the same, they're absolutely not. They're two worlds apart. And the more you focus on living at your goal weight, the more you do realize that this is a forever process. And so what? So is brushing your teeth. You know what I mean? Like you plan on doing that forever and you're fine with it. And so, managing your eating, it gets easier. Don't get me wrong, but it's always something you have to kind of manage to some degree, because things are always changing. You don't live in this static state. Things are constantly fluctuating and evolving and changing around you. And so you have to have the ability to manage your eating, through the ups and downs of life, through the different situations and scenarios. What's up, Heidi? Heidi says, I am a thin, healthy eating person. I've been on Weight Watchers for about two and a half weeks, but the scale doesn't budge. What should I try? I don't need all my bonus points. Well, I am a thin, healthy eating person. Well, I don't know how much weight you want to lose. So that's kind of the first thing. 2.5 weeks is just not really that much time for much and anything. I always say, weight loss is inconsistent and unpredictable in the short term and very consistent and predictable in the long term. But I hate to say this, but 2.5 weeks just is not that much time, especially with just like a Weight Watchers plan too, where you're really just, calorying it, pointing it up, you know? Oh, you want to drop 15 pounds? Okay. Yeah. So I will tell you, and this gets back to, again, my core problem that I think weight loss is just taught so silly, in my opinion. And I think that you have to look at weight loss. I do anyways. I look at weight loss and managing my weight more importantly, because I'm at my goal weight. So I'm not losing any more weight. I'm managing my weight. And I think of managing my weight as being, I think of it very similar to playing guitar. So I play guitar, and they're both similar in the sense that I'm always working and learning and practicing with them. And when you first start playing guitar, right, really, when you first start doing anything, you start getting these big gains, because you're starting from scratch. You don't know anything, you never practice anything, you never learn anything, nothing, And so when you put a little bit of time and effort in, you start getting kind of big gains. But the longer you stick with anything, the longer you stick with something, the kind of smaller the improvements get for the time and effort you put in. Okay. And so with weight, so let's just say you got 50 pounds you want to lose. The first 10, 20 pounds are probably going to be a lot easier than the last 10, 20 pounds. And it's just like that with everything, any skill. Like you go take an art class, you never painted before. Well, that first, let's sign up and say you sign up for a 4-week art class. The first week or two, you're going to improve really rapidly because you've never done any of it. So it's quick, easy gains. But as you start getting better, the gains and the improvements are smaller and smaller. So again, for you, Heidi, if you're 15 pounds away from your goal weight, you have to put yourself on a different scale than someone who, say, is like 70 pounds overweight. They're probably going to get faster results, so 2.5 weeks to me. Now, again, the other thing as well, and this is why Weight Watchers, in my opinion, is probably the best weight loss plan out there, which isn't saying much, by the way. Weight Watchers is fine. And the main thing about Weight Watchers, in my opinion, is really the social component to it, which is kind of fading away. But the idea of counting points, I mean, it's just a marketing trick around counting calories, and they just changed it up a little bit, but it's not really that comprehensive of an approach. So again, when you start getting, let me put it this way, goal weight pyramid, right? And Program Yourself, then we follow the goal weight pyramid: mindset, lifestyle, eating. Okay. And so when I think, and I just did this, I mean, for me, the first weight I lost 50 pounds, right? This was over 30 years ago, but I lost 50 pounds. The first 25, 30 pounds were relatively quick. The last 25 pounds were relatively slow. So that, I think you have to get that idea in your mind. It's not just a straight linear line of weight loss. And so once you start realizing that, that as you get closer and closer to your goal weight, it becomes a game of inches. And so you need to have more and more strategies at your disposal. So just counting points, I think you have a hard time getting to your goal weight and staying there if you're just counting points. And so in my world, I'm working on my mindset, my lifestyle, and my eating. And my eating is, again, it's a different approach and process than like a Weight Watchers would be. But I'm working on a lot of subtle things, because that's where you're at. You're on little refinements. I was playing guitar yesterday, and it's like, I remember the first time I did, I was just learning chords. You learn 7 chords, you can pretty much play any song you want to play, a vague version of it, but as you get better and better at it, your practice has to refine. You know what I mean? It gets more and more refined. Now I'll practice little tiny things for an hour. You know what I mean? Whereas before I was just practicing these big chunky things because I stunk. And so now it's like, it gets more and more refined, but it's the same thing with my weight. And as I get closer and closer to my goal weight, I have to have a more refined, dialed in strategy that includes mindset, lifestyle, and eating. And so, I mean, to be honest, the point thing, again, maybe you can force yourself to follow points until you get to your goal weight. But if you're not working on your mindset, it's going to be hard to stay there. If you're not working on your lifestyle, it might be hard to even get there, because your lifestyle has a huge impact, especially, at first, when you first want to lose weight and you got a significant amount of weight to lose, just tracking calories and making healthier food choices is going to get you there, or at least moving that direction. Okay. But as you get closer and closer to your goal weight, you got to get better and better at the subtleties, the lifestyle piece. What do I mean by lifestyle in order of importance? Sleeping, hydration, relaxation, breathing, nourishment, movement, meditation, gratitude. And so I think to get closer and closer to your goal weight, you're going to need to get good at those things, because they all affect your weight in subtle ways. Your mindset, absolutely. Yeah, what would be an example of a refinement lifestyle? Yeah, like I just said, and again, I don't know, where's your sleep at? You know what I mean? If I'm not seeing correctly, I feel like I seen a picture of you with a little kid. So if you're a mom, maybe your sleeping is off. Meaning, and there's two measurements of sleep, right? Quantity and quality. And so, are you getting 8 hours of sleep, high quality sleep every night? And if you can't, if you're in a situation where you just can't do that, then it is what it is, but then maybe you work on napping. But again, sleeping to me is one of the main factors that's going to impact your weight in indirect ways, though. That's what I'm trying to say. Yes, calories, with the goal weight pyramid, it's ironic, right? Because the bottom, the biggest part is mindset. The next biggest part is lifestyle. And the smallest part visually is the eating. But in reality, the eating is it's the biggest thing that affects your weight. But then in an indirect way, the lifestyle and the mindset are absolutely impacting your weight. And so I see so many people that will lose some weight, a decent amount of weight, and then they'll start struggling. You know what I mean? You'll start struggling as you start getting closer and closer to your goal weight because the calories is not enough for most people. Now, if you were in a lab and I was controlling your calories, then the calories would be enough, but you're not in a lab. And so your quality of sleep is going to impact how much you eat, how hungry you are, how aware of the calories you ate, the decisions you made, the calories you ate, and the quality of the nutrition that was in those calories, you know? And so, and that's just sleep. Then there's hydration. If you're dehydrated or mildly dehydrated, is it impossible to lose weight? No, but it makes it a lot harder in subtle, indirect ways. If you're stressed out, you know what I mean? Like that, again, indirectly makes it harder. Your cortisol levels rise, your hunger goes up, your cravings go up. It's harder to choose the right things. Your body metabolism functions a bit differently. Your microbiome's affected. Nutrition, right? So again, we get past just calorie in, calorie out. What is the quality of the nutrition of those calories? That absolutely matters, especially when you start getting within 5, 10, 15 pounds of your goal weight. You have to start being more refined, and then yeah, we just keep going on. I mean, then there's movement, again, with the quality of the movement, and it's not just working out more. You know what I mean? Like it's the movements that really work for you and make you feel good. Meditation, quieting your mind down, gratitude, key part, and then there's the whole mindset piece. That's a whole nother thing. But so again, I say this to you because it gives you a more robust, comprehensive understanding of what it really takes to live at your goal weight. And I find pretty much every single diet out there does not give you what it really takes because they don't want to scare you off. And Weight Watchers is guilty of this. Again, Weight Watchers, all the diets are trying to make it seem as easy as possible. So they don't want to overwhelm you. And so what's Weight Watchers? Oh, just count your points. Well, you ain't just going to count your points because the you who's counting your points is directly impacted by your lifestyle. Right. And so don't sleep for a week, dehydrate yourself, get in a stressful situation. Don't nourish yourself, eat really low quality, nourishing foods. Don't move. Let your mind go spinning out into nowhere. And then let me see how good you are at counting your points and where your points end up. Do you see what I'm saying? So the bigger we think about this, at first, it's, oh my God, I'm gonna have to deal with all that. Well, I mean, it's a bit, but once you kind of figure it out, it just becomes automated, and then you can live your goal weight forever. So hopefully that helps out. He says it's varied. I'm surprised to hear this. What's varied? Your sleep is varied. So, anyways, that's what I think. But Sherry says, hi, Jim. This is the best advice for sure. I had such a negative self-image for so long, and I've definitely been working hard on thinking of myself differently. Your program's helped a lot. I still find myself needing to work hard at how I think of myself, so I need to stay focused. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, Sherry's in the program. She's killing it. And but it's the same for me. That's why I say in Program Yourself, then we take our weight loss and wrap it in personal development. Because again, it's not just about getting to your goal weight. Do you understand? It's about getting to your goal weight and then being able to maintain it as easily and comfortably as possible. And that takes consistent effort and work. It doesn't have to be overwhelming and hard. I always say, like, ironically, mastering your weight is easier than losing weight. Losing weight is really hard because you just jump in and overwhelm yourself. You know what I mean? I'm just going to lose the weight. And you do some crazy plan. It's extreme. It's hard. It's difficult. And you can only do it for a little while. The things I'm talking about are creating a new mindset, creating a new lifestyle you live within, creating new eating structures you live within. So for me now, like my mindset, lifestyle, and eating are so dialed in that most of it's automatic. Like most of my behaviors and thoughts and feelings and everything are pretty much on autopilot when it comes to my weight. but I'm still managing it. I'm still focusing. I'm still aware and paying attention to it. It's the garden metaphor that if you set a garden up, to get the garden created in the beginning takes a lot of work, right? But once it's set up, once the garden's set up, then it's more maintenance. You know what I mean? So it's less effort. And I think of this the same way, but you're always going to have to maintain and manage because things are always changing. And we live in an obesogenic environment where it's constantly tempting us and, trying to convince us to eat bullshit. So that's a piece too. But, yeah, but again, I know Sherry's doing awesome. So I know that, but it does take work. I mean, it does take effort. I say that all the time. That's why I always want to be crystal clear. My program's not for most people. I say that proudly and loudly. It's like, my program is for my clients are overthinkers, overachievers, perfectionists. They hold themselves to a high standard. They're proactive. They really listen to podcasts all the time. They've studied all the books. They've done different diets. They take a lot of action. Problem is they haven't learned the right action to take. But my program, I think it was like, it's like a college. It's like college for weight mastery, And so, yeah, you go through the weight mastery blueprints, you fill them out, your goal weight blueprints, you fill out mindset, lifestyle, eating. You got to have some ability to focus and concentrate. But if you can do that, it's the golden keys, right? It's a blueprint for how to get to your goal and then live there. And I think, I don't see anyone else offering that, I really don't. So anyways, you're doing awesome, Sherry. Yeah, it keeps going on. Yeah, Schlenga says, everything you say is a healing. Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And I do hear that a lot. And that's why I do this every day on the podcast. Cause I know what I'm saying. I literally am here to help heal you dieters, the way you think and the way you feel, because I know dieters, by the time you're listening to me, I already know if you're even listening to me, I already know you. I already know if you're listening to me for more than a minute. If you stay here for more than a minute, I already know you're an overthinker. I already know you're that type of person because everyone else just bounces, and that's fine. You know what I mean? That's why I get on here. So, you know what I mean? But if you are that person who's an overthinker and just what's happening is you're always beating yourself up. And what ultimately what's come down to when it comes to your weight is you blame yourself. You blame yourself for being overweight. And my main message to you is to stop blaming yourself because you don't know how to live at your goal weight. You think you do, but that's a mistake. You do not. You do not. That's why I always hear, right? People say, oh, I know what to do. I just got to get myself to do it. That's bullshit, because the real problem is you don't know what to do. You don't know how to keep yourself motivated. You don't know how to set this up so it's easy and comfortable and enjoyable. You have no idea. You have no idea how to think like a thin, healthy person. You have no idea to do these things. And if you have no idea how to do these things, how are you going to do them? And that's your problem, is that you've never been taught how to manage your mindset, your lifestyle, and your eating. You've never learned how to think, live, and eat like a thin, healthy person. Never, not once. You've learned how to fight against yourself and follow strict plans so you can lose weight for a little while. But you have never once learned how to really master the way you think, live, and eat so that you can live at the weight you want to live at. And once you learn it, it's a game changer because it ain't rocket science. It's just that you've never learned this stuff. And so you're kind of flummoxed. And so what you do is you repeat the same cycle over and over. You get upset about your weight. You jump into some overwhelming extreme plan. You do it for a little while. You quit. You go back to what you always do. Get upset. Jump into some extreme plan. And the cycle just repeats over and over and over and over again. Yeah, Sherry says, I love being in Jim's weight management college. Yes, absolutely. That's how I think of it. I really do. And I think that, if you're willing to put the time and effort in, it's, you just learn the components. I always say metaphorically, or in like an analogy, is that, you think about your weight, and it's just funny. I mean, like, again, I love when you really reflect on what you think about weight, it's really, there's not a lot there, right? It's kind of like the emperor has no clothes. You have no idea how to motivate yourself. You don't know how to deal with your habits, really. You don't know how to deal with your emotions without food. You don't know how to think like a thin, healthy person. You don't know how to bounce back when you make a mistake. You don't know any of these things, and program yourself thin. That's just the mindset section that you go through and fill out the answers to those questions. But imagine the process of weight loss when you have the answers to those questions. It's completely different, And so what I was going to say, analogy wise, is that it's like, even if you have no mechanical ability, if you go to mechanic school, you sign up and you go to the classes and do the work, you're going to come out as a mechanic. You may not be the best mechanic that ever lived, but you're going to be a mechanic. You're not good with numbers, whatever, go to accounting school. You go to accounting school and do the work and come out an accountant. So again, when there's a system that really works, you come out the other end with the skills you need to achieve what you want to do. Dieting does not teach you any of those skills. Dieting basically just gives you a plan and says, okay, do it. Well, there's the problem. The problem isn't that you don't know what to do. The problem is you don't know how to get yourself to do it. And that's always been the problem. You know enough of what you should and shouldn't eat at this point. Come on. I always use the example. If you were a robot, a cyborg, and you typed in every day what you were going to eat, and then you just did it because you're a robot, so you just ate what you typed in the morning, would you have any problem losing weight? No, that's not the problem. The problem isn't knowing what to eat and what not to eat. The problem is you have no clue how to get yourself to do it consistently. That's the missing piece to the puzzle for you. And no diet's ever going to fix that, you know? So again, your willpower is not the secret to losing weight. Real weight loss and living at your goal weight is not about willpower. It's about structure and strategy. It's about your mindset. You know, those are the important things. Vicky says, culture never gives you the support and encouragement we receive from you. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yep. Culture promotes the idea that once you reach your goal weight, you're done and it's all over. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Right. And Vicky's a pro. I mean, she was in, well, I forget what the Weight Watchers thing's called, but it's like Weight Watchers for life or something. You get to your goal weight and hold it for a certain amount of time. You get like free, membership forever. And again, I mean, I think personally, Weight Watchers is probably the best weight loss plan that's ever existed. Which isn't saying much. It's not very effective for most people. But again, statistically, it's probably the most popular. But for most of the time, it was the best because, again, you would talk to people and there was that social component. But by the way, if you take that social component, that Weight Watchers is as stupid as the rest of the diets, And so, but the social component is valuable, for a bunch of reasons. But yes, the idea that you just get to your goal weight and then that's it, and that's what a lot of you are walking around just kind of subconsciously assuming. And it just ain't true. You don't just get to your goal weight and that's it. You get to your goal weight. Now you got to manage your goal weight. Yeah. Christy says white knuckling never works. It doesn't. It may work to help you lose weight for a little while. Okay. So, I mean, obviously we've all done that. We've all white knuckled to get some results, but then we've all quit the white knuckling and gone back to what we always do as well every single time, unless you're at your goal weight now, but if you're not at your goal weight now, it's because you white knuckled it and then you couldn't white knuckle it anymore. And to put it metaphorically, the way I always think of it is that, the way you're trying to lose weight, it's kind of like if you signed up to run a marathon, but you're like, I'm going to run it like a sprinter. No one ever thought of that. I'm going to sprint the whole marathon. I'm going to kill him. And the gun goes off and you start running and you're sprinting. And the first eighth of a mile, you're way out ahead of everyone. You're like, oh my God, this is working. This is so awesome. This really worked. This is a great plan. The next eighth of a mile, you collapse and you can't finish the race, and you reflect and you say, you know what? Next time I just got to sprint further and harder and I got to want it more. No, the problem is that strategy for that situation is it's not the right strategy. And no matter how motivated or fired up or white knuckled you go, there's a limit to how much you can do. There's a limit to how hard you can push yourself. And I know you all don't believe this. I know you're resisting it right now. No, Jim, I'm going to do it. When I really get serious, I'm going to do it. How long have you all been waiting to get serious, by the way? You know what I mean? It's dieting bullshit. You know what I mean? Well, no, because here we are Thursday. Oh, next Monday now? Oh, the next Monday? Oh, the next Monday? Oh, the next Monday? Next year. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you're bullshitting yourself and you don't want to start because you hate your dieting plan. You hate how you have to lose weight, so you avoid it. You don't want to white knuckle. White knuckling implies that it's really hard and you have to force yourself to do it. And it's just never going to work that way. Yeah. Christy says changing your identity is key, but hard. Yes, it is. It is. No doubt about it. Changing your identity is definitely a challenge. That's a long-term goal too. I mean, we talk about in the program very specifically. We have a whole section on self-image, identity. It's the same thing, but that's the ultimate goal, is to shift your self-image and identity. But yeah, it definitely takes work and effort and time. And but again, when you have a strategic plan to do it, it's a lot easier because most dieters have no sense of changing their self-image or identity. They just think, I'm just gonna no more carbs. No more carbs until I get to my goal weight. No, track every calorie. I'm not going to eat for 16 hours. It's just so tense and stressful, the whole thing. That's why I'm Program Yourself Thin. You start the program, Program Yourself Thin. You start it. You listen to a 5-minute hypnosis session. It's the opposite of white knuckling. You know what I mean? It's relaxing and calming, because that's what you need to lose weight, by the way. You need to be more relaxed and calm. You've been sold a bill of goods. It's a bunch of bullshit from the weight loss industry. This idea of no pain, no gain, pushing yourself, doing really hard things, extreme things. That's been you've been brainwashed by that. You know what I mean? Like, you've heard that message so many times that you just start to believe it, but it's completely wrong. The answer to your problems is not just, it's calming down and relaxing. Take a deep breath, relax, feel that energy, and realize that's the energy you want to build upon. That's the foundational energy you want to succeed with, not the white knuckling. Yeah. What's up, Christy? Christy says, "Hi, Jim. I can no longer access my Nudge app sessions. Would you correct this for me?" Well, Christy, I got good news and bad news for you. The bad news is there's no more Nudge app. They literally went out of business, by the way. So they're just done. That's the bad news. The good news is we got the Circle app now, and the Circle app's 1,000 times better. So, Christy, shoot me an email at jim@programyourselfthin.com. I will send you the sign up link for Circle, and you'll get in there, and it's awesome. And the Circle app it's just the very beginning. We're going to be using that a ton. And so, yeah, you can get everything in the program in there. It's 1,000 times better than Nudge app, and it's really cool. And so just shoot me your email, and I will send you that as soon as I get it. All right. But nice to see you here. Coca Fant says, "Hi, sir. Is there room for asking questions?" Yes, absolutely. Ask your questions. And this is live, and I'm answering questions, but sometimes did Trump ever roll Epstein to death? So funny. I don't really get a lot of political shit in here, but it's funny. Chalenga says, "That's what's happening to me, and it's amazing. I'm so grateful." Super job, Chalenga. Proud of you. Don't worry, be happy. Yep. Sanja says, "Is it harder to lose weight or to maintain it?" Well, I mean, it depends how you do it, right? So if you lose weight comfortably and in a relaxed, calm way, right? So this is, I don't know, you know what I mean? I think it's it depends how you go about it. So in Program Yourself Thin, we start on day one with maintenance in mind. So again, here's the thing, right? With dieting, your main goal, like when you think about dieting, your goal is to lose weight, right? So you want to get to your goal weight, right? So you think of like the finish line is getting to my goal weight. With Program Yourself Thin, the goal is to live at your goal weight. Those are two completely different goals, because losing weight is just a phase. You're going to lose weight for what? A couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years, depending on how much weight you have to lose. And then what? And every dieter says, "Well, I'll figure it out then." But then there's the thorny problem of 95% of dieters that lose weight put the weight back on. So do you really just want to wait to figure it out after you've lost it? Because that doesn't seem like a good idea. And so a lot of people, because all they care about is losing weight, again, you think about, you've been conditioned to think about your weight loss like a sprint. You think about it as like, okay, the goal is to get to my goal weight. And if that's the goal, let's just make it happen as quick as possible. And the second you want it to happen as quick as possible, then you say, well, what's the most crazy thing I can do to lose weight as fast as possible? This is how you get people doing dumb shit like just eating meat or doing dry fasts or, just doing crazy stuff. And so it depends how you approach it. In Program Yourself Thin, it's not harder to lose weight or to maintain it. I would say it's easier to maintain it because at that point you've created automaticity. You know what I mean? Like you've created routines and habits and you practiced them. And so it becomes easier that way. But Program Yourself Thin, on day one, we're working on our maintenance. Do you understand that? Because again, I get people on here all the time and say, because I say, "Oh, keto's fucking goofy. Keto's a goofy time. Goofy. You want to live at your goal weight? Don't do keto. Don't do intermittent fasting. Don't do Weight Watchers. Don't do any diet." There's not a single diet, by the way. We've had 100 years of dieting. There's not a single diet that rises to the top in terms of effectiveness of keeping the weight off. So, and so Program Yourself Thin, we start day one by saying, how can I live at my goal weight for the rest of my life on your autopilot? Let me figure that out. So, we're not doing anything extreme. Who gives a shit if you do something extreme and lose 30 pounds in a month if you can't keep it up? What's the point? Unless you're again, if you've got a photo shoot coming up or a wedding or some like a cute situation in the future you want to be thinner for, and you want to do something crazy for that, great. Okay, that's fine. I get it. That's a different goal. But if you actually want to live at your goal weight, if you'd like to live at your goal weight, if doing something extreme, why? It's got an expiration date. And you know this, you've gone through it so many times. So again, is it harder to lose weight or maintain it? It really depends on how the process you use. If you're a dieter, it's all hard. If you're in programming yourself thin, it's all a lot easier. Uh, Nice. That's Christy, right? Hey, Jim, 53 years old. I've tried it all except for Jenny Craig. Your program does work. Neuroscience. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Christy's got an awesome story too. It really is a good one. And yeah, I mean, when you learn how to use your mind and you approach things strategically and smarter, it's just a lot better. Yeah, Deanna. What's up, Deanna? Deanna says, yeah, Circle app's much better. It's way better. The Circle app's way better. And the Circle app is going to get way better, by the way. So oh my God, I'll tell you little stories of my workbook. So I got in Program Yourself Thin, there's three main parts of the program. There's a goal weight blueprint. There is the Program Yourself Thin technique. And then there's the goal weight hypnosis system and all the support stuff to it. And so the goal weight blueprint is about knowing what to do. The PYT technique is knowing how to get yourself to do it. And then the support there is to kind of support you in moving yourself down the path. And so I've spent the last 5-6 months redoing the goal weight blueprint, making it better, just really tweaking all the rest of it. And so I just got it redesigned, right? So I wrote it all out and I got it formatted. And now I was just about to send it off to the printers yesterday. And I looked at the print and I realized that there was a big mistake with it all throughout the whole thing. So I got it corrected and it's all set to go. And if you're in the program, I'm going to, I've got the PDF, the fillable PDF. I'm going to upload that in the next day or two and you'll have that. I've got a Google Doc version of it being made right now. That'll be ready. I think tomorrow is when it's supposed to be ready. And then I will have, if you want a physical printed out book, the workbook, I will have those available next week, the end of next week, or maybe even the beginning of the following week. I'll have them in my hands and I'll be able to send them out if you want one. But I'll get you information on that. But you'll get all the digital versions for free. The physical one will cost some money because they just cost money to make, obviously. But the digital ones, you'll have the PDF. The fillable PDF will be up there in a day or two. The Google Doc will be up probably in a day or two. And then the physical workbook, if you choose you want one, those will be available in probably in a week and a half, ready to ship out. So yeah. But anyways, yeah. So that's been all created. So yeah, if anyone hasn't been in the program in a little while, go check that out. Because even the new version's up there with all the new content, and then the new redesigned version has been done. It looks awesome. I can't wait. I cannot wait to show you this workbook. It's so exciting. I've never done this. I had done I used to make workbooks for a different program I had. And they were really cool looking, but this one here is beautiful. And oh my God, it is the keys to the kingdom. It has got everything in it you need to live at your goal weight. That's awesome. Christy says, what are your thoughts on GLP-1s? I don't really think too much of GLP-1s because I don't really think of what we're doing here at Program Yourself. Then, GLP-1s are just about losing weight. You know what I mean? And again, I always say, like, Program Yourself is really about taking your weight loss rapid and personal development so that you're not only losing weight, but you're becoming the best version of you possible. And so I really just think of them completely different in that sense. Now, that being said, you don't have the same perspective I've had because all day long, I watch people I'm working with just killing it, So to me, GLP-1s are way better than diets. Diets don't work, right? There's not a diet in the history of the world that works consistently. So that doesn't work. And so dieting's down here, gastric bypass, lap bands down here, gastric bypass is up here. And then GLP-1s, in my opinion, are right about here. But I think GLP-1s are better than gastric bypass. Gastric bypass can be effective, but it does a lot of side effects to it. You know what I mean? It's a lot you deal with. GLP-1s to me in that sense are better than diets for sure, better than lap band. And they're as effective as gastric bypass, but they're a lot less invasive. Okay. But then there's Program Yourself Thin. Now, does Program Yourself Thin work for every single person? Oh, I can't say that, obviously. But if Program Yourself Thin works for you, let's compare it. This is why I say it. Because what we're doing with Program Yourself Thin is you're going through the weight mastery blueprints, mindset, lifestyle, and eating. How do I think like a thin, healthy person? How do I live like a thin, healthy person? How do I eat like a thin, healthy person for me? So you go through this workbook and answer these questions to answer your own strategy. How do I need to think about things to be thin and healthy? How do I need to live to be thin and healthy? How do I need to eat to be thin and healthy? And you customize a one size fits one plan that's built around you. And so if that works for you, and you stick with it and you do the program and you learn what to do that really works for you and it's custom made for you, and you learn how to run your mind so you actually do it, so that you end up at your goal weight with a system that really is built around you that feels very easy and natural and comfortable, and you lose the weight. So let's compare, because by the way, GLP-1 doesn't work for everyone. Okay, let it be known. GLP-1s do not work for everyone right off the bat. And so let's take the best case GLP-1 scenario, right? You inject yourself with this thing and you get to your goal weight. Best case scenario. Okay. Let's take the best case scenario, program yourself thin. You go through the program, you learn how to run your mind, you come up with your customized plan for how to think, live, and eat like a thin, healthy person based on you. And now you've got that. So now let's take the two best case scenarios. You got one person who's lost weight with GLP-1s, one person who has mastered their weight with program yourself thin. Now the GLP-1 person, first of all, this is a quick one. GLP-1 people are only going to lose weight for 16 months. So if you're, depending on how much weight you have to lose, you may not even get to your goal weight. You're only going to lose weight for 16 months, and then it's going to stabilize. And then for the rest of your life, you have to be on GLP-1s. Okay. And all that's happened is you're taking this GLP-1 and now you don't feel so hungry. And so you eat less. That's how that works. But program yourself thin, you're learning how to run your mind. You're learning how to think better. You've identified a better version of yourself and how to become that. You've learned how to tweak your lifestyle and implement it. You've come up with eating strategies that resonate with you and are easier to follow. And you've got that for the rest of your life. GLP-1s, you got to pay whatever you pay every month for it for the rest of your life while you want to, as long as you want to be thin anyways. Okay. Program yourself thin. You don't have to pay anything else. You got the whole program. You're done. You got it. You got lifetime access to it if you need to go back to it. But once you have your blueprint, you've got your blueprint. So again, GLP-1s are better than everything else pretty much, but they're, and again, I'm talking about best case scenarios, but again, everyone with GLP-1 talks about best case scenarios. There's tons of people that have shitty, awful times with GLP-1s and it doesn't work. They have to stop. So, let's not just, if we're just going to cherry pick, fine. I'll cherry pick. I'll put my best program yourself thin clients against your best GLP-1s all day long. And I'm going to come out on top by a mile because again, not only are you mastering your weight, you're really learning how to run your mind. You're learning how to tweak your lifestyle. You learn how to eat healthier. So you're not just eating less, you're eating healthier. You're more energized, you're happier, you're healthier, you're managing your emotions, you're motivating yourself. You learn how to maintain, you learn how to deal with your habits, you learn how to shift your self-image. So, in that sense, there's no comparison. But, again, if you're not willing or able or wanting to do program yourself thin, then I think GLP-1s are better than any diet. So then there's that. But is program yourself thin based on rewiring your brain? Yes, absolutely. It's absolutely built around rewiring your subconscious mind so that you naturally and automatically do the things that get you to your goal weight and then keep you there. Right. Someone says, I'm not going to do it. It's happening. Nice job. Yeah. Relax and let it happen. Sure. Vicky says self-image evolves through different life stages. Yes, Vicky. Absolutely. That's so true. Cool. All right. End of the questions. And that's perfect. I got to get out of here and eat some salad. So, all right, everyone, if you're not in my world, please go click the link in my bio, go get the free hypnosis session I give you, watch the video I made, the training I made for you. It's like 20 minutes. Watch it. Okay. Once you know that stuff, you're going to be better off with your weight. If you like this, I'm here every Monday through Friday, usually around noon Eastern. I'm here to answer your questions. So any weight loss questions you have, please ask them. I'm here to help you out. Christy says, I'm not on GLP-1, but so many of my friends are. I'm not interested in it, but I am interested in PYT. I'll check out the Circle app. The Circle app won't work for right now. The Circle app is only for my clients. So that is going to change over the next couple of weeks. I'm going to have a whole free section of the Circle app. So you'll be able to get in there, but at the very least, Christy, go get the hypnosis session and get on my email list because I got a bunch of cool stuff coming down the pike. I got what things working out and I'm so close to finally completely finishing this goal weight blueprint. I'm excited about that. And then the next thing to focus on is the Circle app. That's going to be one of the main things I'm focusing on. And so there will be a free section of that as well. Okay. But again, yeah, the GLP-1s, again, I'm not here to shit talk and I want to be supportive. A lot of people in the program, they're on GLP-1s. So again, everyone's got their own path. But for me, again, with the GLP-1s, a lot of times with the GLP-1s, just one of the things is they're kind of dealing with a symptom. You know what I mean? You're hungry all the time. So take a GLP-1. Now you're not hungry all the time. Right. But it's like, that's dealing with a symptom. I want to go to the core of it. And I want to get your mindset right, get your lifestyle right, get your eating right so that you're thriving. You know what I mean? Inside and out. And it's a big difference. So anyways, I'll just leave it there. But again, so if you're not in my world, go get that hypnosis session and check it out. And yeah. And then, so this is live every day, Monday through Friday. But if you miss the live and you want to listen to it, it's also a podcast I put up. It's called Program Yourself Then. And you go to any podcast platform, look it up and you'll see it. And I put that up every day as well. So there it is. All right, everyone, have a super duper day and we will talk soon. Bye, everyone.